The dark side of the moon is alive. No human eye had ever seen the dark side of the moon directly. It always faced away from Earth, locked in silent rotation, hiding its surface like a secret it never wanted to share. For centuries, scientists called it the far side, a harmless name meant to calm curiosity. But among those who studied it closely, another phrase existed, one that was never used in public. They called it the watching side. Dr. Hale stood alone in the control room of the Artemis Deep Space Observatory, staring at a screen filled with gray and black images. The moon's far side looked the same as always, scarred, cold, lifeless. Or at least, that was how it was supposed to look. But something had changed. For the past 3 nights, the observatory's instruments had detected subtle movements. Not meteor impacts. Not seismic shifts. The readings were too rhythmic. Too organized. Almost like breathing. Aaron rubbed his tired eyes. He hadn't slept properly in days. The idea that the moon could show signs of life was absurd. The moon was dead rock. Everyone knew that. It had no atmosphere, no water, no heat, no life. And yet, the data refused to agree. The thermal sensors showed temperature fluctuations in patterns that repeated every 6 hours. The magnetic field readings pulsed faintly, like a weak heartbeat. Even stranger, radio interference spiked whenever the far side rotated into a specific alignment with Earth. Something was reacting to us. Aaron leaned closer to the monitor as a new image loaded. High resolution. Infrared layered over visual data. At first glance, nothing stood out. But then the contrast sharpened. A line appeared. It stretched across the lunar surface, hundreds of kilometers long, too smooth to be a natural fracture. Then the line slowly widened. Aaron's breath caught in his throat. The moon was opening. Not cracking. Not breaking. Opening. The line curved gently, like the outline of an eyelid. Shadows deepened within it, revealing layers beneath the surface that no telescope had ever recorded before. These layers weren't rock. They had texture, depth, subtle movement. Aaron whispered to himself, "That's not possible." Behind him, the control room door slid open. Dr. Layla Morano entered, holding a tablet, her expression tight and pale. "You're seeing it too, aren't you?" she asked. Aaron didn't turn around. "Tell me I'm wrong." Layla swallowed. "You're not." She stepped beside him and brought up her own data. Independent systems. Independent instruments. Same results. "This started long before we noticed," she said quietly. "The moon's been adjusting. Slowly. Over centuries. We just didn't have the tools to see it." Aaron finally looked at her. "Adjusting for what?" Layla hesitated. "For us." Long before humans learned to walk upright, the moon was already there. A silent companion in the sky. Ancient cultures worshipped it, feared it, wrote myths about gods trapped inside it. Some believed it watched over the dead. Others claimed it influenced madness, tides, even birth itself. Those myths were closer to the truth than anyone ever imagined. Beneath the moon's surface, far deeper than any drill had ever reached, something enormous rested. It was not made of flesh as humans understood it. It had no blood, no bones. It was older than biology itself. It was a living structure. An organism the size of a small planet. It did not think in words. It did not dream. It waited. When it first arrived in Earth's orbit, the planet below was unrecognizable. No cities. No satellites. Only oceans, storms, and fragile life struggling to survive. The organism had been damaged, drifting through space after the collapse of a distant system. Earth was never meant to be its home. But it would do. Over time, it wrapped itself in stone, cooling its outer layers into what humans would one day call the moon. The rock became armor. The craters were scars. The far side, the side always hidden, was where its sensory structures slept. And now, after billions of years, something had finally woken them. Human technology. Radio waves, nuclear tests, satellites, landings, each signal was like a whisper scratching against its shell. At first, it ignored them. Then it became aware. And awareness led to curiosity. Curiosity led to hunger. The first astronaut to feel it was Commander Elias Rowe, during the Artemis 7 mission. Official reports said he suffered a panic attack. Unofficial recordings told a different story. As his rover crossed into the far side's deepest basin, his vitals spiked. Heart rate erratic. Breathing shallow. "Something's wrong," he said over the comms. "The ground, it's vibrating." Mission Control heard only static after that. Inside his helmet, Elias felt it more than heard it. A low hum passed through the soles of his boots and into his bones. The lunar dust beneath him shifted, flowing like liquid for just a moment before settling again. Another voice cut in. Or something that just realized we're a threat. The room fell silent again. The moon had always affected Earth. Tides rose and fell by its pull. Animals migrated by its cycles. Human sleep patterns shifted with its phases. Even emotions, ancient studies hinted at increased aggression and anxiety during full moons. Those weren't coincidences. They were side effects. The organism beneath the lunar surface didn't control gravity in the way machines did. It was gravity, shaped and focused through structures grown over billions of years. Every pulse it released gently tugged at the planet below, testing, learning, feeling. It had felt humanity's growth like pressure against a wound that never fully healed. Cities glowed brighter than stars. Radio waves scraped against its senses. Nuclear detonations sent shocks through space-time itself, painful and alarming. For the first time since it had wrapped itself in stone, the moon felt afraid. And fear demanded action. Commander Elias Rowe's autopsy reports were re-examined in secret. The patterns found in his brain weren't random damage. They matched the mathematical structures in the moon's transmission almost perfectly. Aaron stared at the overlapping images, his skin crawling. It used him, he said. Sophia nodded. Not maliciously. More like practice. Practice for what? To learn how to speak through us. Layla's voice was barely audible. You're saying the moon can rewrite human minds. Sophia met her eyes. I'm saying it already has. Across the world, strange things began to happen. People reported vivid dreams of standing on a gray plain beneath a black sky. They described feeling watched, measured, weighed. Some woke up screaming. Others woke up calm, peaceful, with a strange sense of purpose they couldn't explain. A radio astronomer in Chile collapsed at his workstation after hearing a low hum that no one else could detect. When he regained consciousness, he began writing equations on the wall, equations that solved problems scientists had struggled with for decades. A child in rural India drew pictures of the moon split open, glowing from within. When asked where she got the idea, she simply said, "It showed me." None of these incidents were reported in the news. But intelligence agencies noticed the pattern. The moon wasn't just sending a signal anymore. It was reaching out. At the observatory, a decision was made. We respond, Aaron said. Several people protested immediately. You don't talk back to something like this, one official argued. That's how you invite disaster. Sophia shook her head. It already knows we're here. Silence now would be rejection. Layla looked between them. And rejection might not be taken kindly. The response was carefully constructed. Mathematical. Simple. Acknowledging the signal without revealing too much. A hello. When the transmission was sent, nothing happened at first. Minutes passed. Then hours. Just as doubt began to settle in, the moon's far side lit up again. The opening returned, wider than before. The bioluminescent structures pulsed faster, brighter. The observatory's instruments struggled to keep up. And then the message came, not in numbers this time, but in images. Earth. Human faces. Cities. And something else. The moon showed them a vision of itself, not as rock, but as it truly was beneath the surface. Vast chambers. Flowing energy. Structures grown, not built. Alive beyond comprehension. A final image appeared. Earth, empty. No cities. No lights. No humans. Just oceans and forests, slowly healing. The message ended with a single, chilling concept translated across every system at once. This world is loud. I can make it quiet. Aaron felt cold sweat run down his back. It's threatening us, someone whispered. Sophia shook her head slowly. No. It's explaining itself. Layla's voice broke. What does it want? Before anyone could answer, a new alert sounded, different from the others. Gravitational readings across the globe were shifting. Tides were rising higher than predicted. Earthquakes were being detected in places that hadn't moved in centuries. The moon wasn't just talking anymore. It was demonstrating. The first city to feel it was Jakarta. The sea didn't rush in like a wave. It didn't roar or crash or announce itself. Instead, the water simply refused to go back. The tide rose higher than any model had predicted, spilling into streets, then homes, then entire districts. Boats floated where cars once moved. People stood on rooftops, staring at the calm, unstoppable advance of the ocean. There was no storm. No earthquake. Just gravity doing something it had never done before. Within hours, similar reports came in from coastal cities across the world. Miami, Lagos, Shanghai, Venice. The moon's pull had shifted by a fraction so small it should have been meaningless. But it wasn't. The moon had learned how to focus. At the Artemis Deep Space Observatory, the atmosphere was thick with fear. The data streams told the same story everywhere, tidal amplification without natural cause. It was precise. Controlled. This isn't a warning shot, Aaron said quietly. It's a lesson. Layla stared at the global map as red alerts multiplied. It's showing us what it can do. Sophia Klein's hands were clenched at her sides. And how easily. For billions of years, gravity had been one of the universe's most reliable forces. Predictable. Obedient to equations. Humanity had built its understanding of reality on that assumption. The moon shattered it in a single day. What scientists began to understand, too late, was that the organism inside the moon didn't generate gravity. It modulated it. Like tightening or loosening a string, it could alter how space itself curved around Earth. A slight increase here. A slight decrease there. Enough to move oceans. Enough to stress fault lines. Enough to remind a fragile species how small it really was. Emergency broadcasts filled the airwaves. Governments tried to keep calm, urging people away from coastlines, offering explanations that made less sense with every passing hour. Behind closed doors, panic ruled. Can we destroy it? One military advisor demanded during a secure meeting. The answer was immediate and unanimous. No. Even the most powerful nuclear weapons humanity possessed would be meaningless against something the size of the moon. Worse, any attempt to attack it might provoke a response that would tear Earth apart long before the weapons ever reached their target. Aaron spoke carefully. We don't fight gravity. We live inside it. Silence followed. The moon watched. It felt the shifting of Earth's crust like tension in a muscle. It sensed the chaotic signals pouring from the planet: fear, confusion, desperation. Humans were loud now in a different way. Emotionally loud. This intrigued it. Long ago, it had studied simpler life forms. Microbial mats. Early plants. Slow, patient systems that adapted without resistance. Humanity was different. Humanity fought everything, even the laws of nature. That made them dangerous. But also, interesting. The moon did not want destruction. Not yet. Destruction was wasteful. Silence came later, when necessary. For now, it wanted understanding. The dreams intensified. Millions of people across the world began experiencing the same vision. They stood beneath the moon, close enough to see the surface ripple like skin beneath stone. They felt its presence pressing against their thoughts, not cruel, not kind, simply vast. In these dreams, the moon spoke without words. You burn. You shake. You fracture your world. I feel it. Some dreamers woke in terror. Others woke with tears streaming down their faces, overwhelmed by a sense of guilt they couldn't explain. A small number didn't wake at all. Those who didn't wake showed no signs of injury. Their hearts simply stopped, as if gently told to rest. Brain scans revealed the same strange neural patterns found in Commander Rowe. The moon was learning faster now. Sophia stood before a room filled with world leaders, scientists, and military officials linked through secure holographic feeds. She had not slept in nearly 2 days. It's not an invasion, she said. It's an evaluation. A president leaned forward. An evaluation for what? Sophia took a breath. For whether we're worth keeping. Murmurs rippled through the room. You're suggesting, another leader said slowly, that the moon is deciding our fate. Yes, Sophia replied. And it's using us as the test. A proposal emerged from desperation. If the moon was reacting to humanity's noise, our energy output, our technology, our weapons, then perhaps silence was the answer. We reduce, Aaron said. Everything. What does that mean? Layla asked. It means shutting down satellites. Halting launches. Deactivating nuclear arsenals. Cutting global power consumption to a fraction of what it is now. The room erupted. That would collapse civilization. Aaron nodded. Or save it. Sophia added softly. The moon isn't asking for submission. It's asking for restraint. The first attempt at silence began as an experiment. A coordinated shutdown of major power grids across 3 continents. Satellites were placed into passive mode. Military communications were minimized. For 6 hours, humanity held its breath. The results were immediate. Tidal levels stabilized. Seismic activity decreased. The moon's surface glow dimmed. It was listening. Hope flickered for the first time since the crisis began. But hope didn't reach everyone. In a remote military installation, a commander refused the shutdown order. He believed fear was weakness and silence was surrender. Against direct commands, he authorized the launch of a high-yield nuclear missile, aimed not at the moon, but into deep space. A show of strength. The moon felt it instantly. The detonation sent a violent ripple through space-time. To the moon, it was pain. Sharp. Sudden. Unmistakable. The glow on the far side flared brighter than ever before. At the observatory, alarm screamed. Aaron whispered, "Oh no." The moon responded not with anger, but with certainty. Gravity shifted again, harder this time. Fault lines snapped. Mountains groaned. The lesson was over. The earthquakes did not stop. They rolled across the planet like slow, angry breaths. Not powerful enough to shatter continents, but constant enough to make it clear this was no accident. Buildings swayed. Bridges cracked. Old cities, built on fragile foundations, began to fail. The moon had not lashed out blindly. It had adjusted the world's tension, just enough to remind humanity that Earth itself was a fragile shell. At the Artemis Deep Space Observatory, the far side of the moon glowed like an exposed nerve. The opening across its surface had widened so much that the illusion of lifeless rock was gone forever. What lay beneath was visible now, even to civilian telescopes. People around the world looked up at the night sky and saw something impossible. The moon was no longer gray. It pulsed with faint, living light. Social media exploded. Governments lost control of the narrative in a matter of minutes. Panic spread faster than any official explanation could follow. Religions called it judgment. Conspiracy groups called it revelation. Scientists struggled to find words that didn't sound like madness. The truth was worse than anyone imagined. Deep beneath the lunar surface, something ancient began to remember. Long before Earth had oceans, before stars like the sun burned steady and bright, the universe was different. Younger. Wilder. Full of forces that no longer existed. In that early chaos, beings arose that were not bound by flesh or time. They were born from collapsing stars and shaped by gravity itself. Not creatures, but systems, living physics. The moon was one of them. It had once been part of a greater structure, a network of planetary organisms that maintained balance in young galaxies. They absorbed excess energy, stabilized star systems, and prevented worlds from tearing themselves apart. They were not gods. They were caretakers. But caretakers can be damaged. The moon remembered the war. A conflict not fought with weapons, but with manipulation of reality. Younger, aggressive intelligences sought to control gravity, to use it as a tool for conquest. The caretakers resisted. Systems collapsed. Stars went dark. Entire regions of space were erased from existence. The moon was torn from its place during that chaos, ripped apart, wounded, and cast adrift through the void. By the time it found Earth, it was broken and exhausted. It wrapped itself in stone to heal. And it slept. Sophia Klein listened as the moon shared these memories. Not through language, but through understanding. The images flowed directly into her mind, overwhelming and vast. She collapsed to her knees, tears streaming down her face. "They are gone," she whispered. "All the others like it." Aaron helped her up. "How do you know?" "Because it's alone," she said. "And it's afraid of becoming irrelevant." The moon had not woken because of curiosity alone. It had woken because humanity reminded it of the same kind of reckless intelligence that once nearly destroyed everything. A new message reached every major scientific center at once. This time, it was clear. I stabilize. You destabilize. I am damaged. You are many. The meaning was unmistakable. The moon could not continue its ancient role while humanity continued to grow unchecked. The noise, the energy, the weapons, they threatened not just Earth, but the moon itself. And if the moon failed, Earth would not survive the consequences. A terrible truth emerged from the data. The moon wasn't just orbiting Earth. It was holding Earth together. Subtle gravitational corrections prevented catastrophic axial wobble. Its internal systems absorbed solar storms that would otherwise strip the atmosphere away. The moon wasn't a passive satellite. It was a life support system. And it was dying. Layla stared at the projections in horror. If it shuts down. Aaron finished the thought. Earth becomes unstable. Climate collapse. Orbital decay. Extinction. Silence filled the room. Humanity had spent centuries dreaming of escaping Earth, never realizing Earth was being protected by something it never understood. World leaders demanded answers. What does it want from us? One asked. Sophia spoke slowly, carefully. Not worship. Not surrender. Then what? It wants relief. The moon could no longer handle the strain of regulating an increasingly violent planet. Its systems were failing. The adjustments it was making now, the earthquakes, the tides, weren't threats. They were symptoms. It was struggling to stay functional. The choice was presented without emotion. The moon would continue stabilizing Earth, but only if humanity agreed to change permanently. No more uncontrolled expansion into space. No more weapons capable of damaging spacetime. A drastic reduction in energy output. And most chilling of all, a population limit. Not enforced by force. Enforced by gravity. Aaron's voice shook. It's asking us to let it decide who gets to be born. Sophia closed her eyes. It's asking us to stop growing before we destroy everything. Outside, the moon's glow intensified, bathing Earth in cold light. Time was running out. The moon was failing. And if humanity refused, it would let go. The agreement was never announced as a surrender. Governments called it the Global Stabilization Accord. Scientists framed it as a necessary adjustment to survive a cosmic emergency. News anchors spoke carefully, avoiding words like control, limitation, or obedience. But people felt the truth immediately. The moon changed. Not in brightness or color, but in presence. Nights felt heavier, as if the sky itself was pressing down. Sensitive instruments detected constant micro-adjustments in Earth's gravitational field, small enough not to crush cities, strong enough to influence life itself. Birth rates dropped within weeks. At first, doctors blamed stress, hormones, environmental changes. But the pattern was too precise. Conception rates declined evenly across the globe, regardless of health, wealth, or environment. The moon was choosing. Not individuals. Not nations. Numbers. The first generation born under the Accord came into a quieter world. Power grids still existed, but they were weak shadows of their former selves. Cities dimmed at night, their lights carefully rationed. Space programs were dismantled or repurposed into monitoring systems designed not to explore, but to listen. Nuclear weapons were deactivated under the moon's watchful presence. Any attempt to reactivate them caused immediate gravitational disturbances, localized increases in pressure that made facilities unusable within minutes. The message was clear. Some technologies were no longer allowed. Children born during this time were different. Not physically. Not at first. But as they grew, patterns emerged. They slept deeply during full moons and woke with a calm focus that unnerved their parents. They showed an instinctive understanding of balance, how to distribute weight, how to conserve energy, how to remain still when movement was unnecessary. Teachers noticed that these children struggled with competition but excelled at cooperation. They avoided conflict not out of fear, but indifference. They were quieter, as if something inside them was tuned to a different rhythm. Dr. Layla Morano watched her daughter sleep beneath a softly glowing window. The moon hung low in the sky, its light pale and constant. She listens, Layla whispered to Aaron, who stood beside her. Aaron nodded. They all do. The moon had not rewritten human DNA. It didn't need to. It simply adjusted the conditions under which humanity developed. Evolution responded as it always had, not through force, but through pressure. The moon observed the new generation with cautious interest. Their thoughts were still loud, but less chaotic. Their emotions flared, then settled. They built less, consumed less, destroyed less. They reminded the moon of earlier caretakers, beings who had understood restraint. Still, the moon did not trust them. Trust had been expensive once. Resistance existed, of course. Hidden groups formed in abandoned cities and deep underground bunkers. They called themselves the Unbound. They believed humanity had traded its future for survival, and that obedience was a slow extinction. We were born to expand, their leaders said. Not to ask permission from the sky. They sabotaged monitoring stations. They experimented with forbidden energy sources. They dreamed of building engines powerful enough to break free from the moon's influence. The moon noticed. The response was subtle. In regions where resistance activity increased, gravity grew slightly heavier. Not enough to crush bones, but enough to exhaust muscles. Movement became labor. Machinery failed under unexpected strain. The unbound called it oppression. The moon called it correction. Sophia Klein aged rapidly during those years. The weight of understanding pressed on her harder than gravity ever could. She alone still received direct impressions from the moon, fragments of thought, flashes of ancient memory. "It doesn't hate us," she told Aaron during one of their final conversations. "It's just tired." "Tired of us?" he asked. "Tired of saving worlds that don't want to be saved." One night, every child born under the accord dreamed the same dream. They stood together on the moon's far side, unafraid of the living surface beneath their feet. The stone parted gently for them, revealing the glowing structures below. A voice, not loud, not gentle, spoke within them. "You are lighter. You will not break what I hold. Remember this." They woke with the same image burned into their minds. The moon had chosen its heirs. Layla felt it before the instruments detected it. "The moon's stabilizing," she said quietly. "Its internal systems are recovering." Aaron stared at the data. She was right. The gravitational fluctuations were smoothing out. The seismic activity had nearly stopped. Earth was safe. But safety came with a cost. Humanity would survive. But it would never again be free in the way it once was. Above them, the moon watched in silence. Alive. Waiting, the moon began to weaken again. This time, it did not hide it. The glow beneath its surface grew uneven, pulsing in irregular waves. Instruments detected fractures forming deep inside its living structure, not cracks in stone, but failures in systems older than Earth itself. The caretaker was running out of time. At first, the changes were subtle. Nights grew colder. Seasons shifted slightly out of alignment. Ocean currents hesitated, then corrected themselves with visible effort. The moon was still holding Earth together. But it was no longer effortless. Sophia Klein was the first to understand what was happening. "It's not healing," she said during an emergency council session. "It's slowing its own collapse." A leader asked the question no one wanted to speak aloud. "How long does it have?" Sophia closed her eyes. "Decades. Maybe less." The room fell into stunned silence. Aaron felt his chest tighten. "And after that?" "After that," Sophia said softly, "there is no one left to do its job." The moon had been alone for billions of years. Now, at the end of its existence, it faced a truth it could no longer ignore. Caretakers were not meant to die without successors. The universe did not allow imbalance for long. The message came not as a broadcast, but as an invitation. Children of the regulated generation, now adolescents, began to experience waking visions. Not dreams. Not hallucinations. Callings. They felt drawn to open spaces under the night sky. They stared at the moon with recognition, not fear. When questioned, they struggled to explain. "It feels like home," one girl said. The moon was preparing them. At the observatory, Layla watched neural scans scroll across her screen in disbelief. "Their brains are changing," she whispered. "Not rewritten. Reorganized." Aaron stared at the data. "Into what?" Layla swallowed. "Interfaces." The moon was not asking humanity to worship it. It was asking them to replace it. The truth was revealed to Sophia in a single, overwhelming transfer of understanding. The moon could no longer maintain Earth forever. But Earth had produced something rare, intelligence capable of restraint. The regulated children were not chosen for obedience. They were chosen for balance. The moon intended to divide itself. Fragments of its living structure, small compared to the whole, but immense by human standards, would be seeded into orbit, into deep space, into other vulnerable systems. But those fragments would need minds to guide them. Human minds. "This is extinction," a general shouted during a closed session. "You're asking us to sacrifice our children." Sophia met his gaze. "It's asking us to let some of them become more than human." The moon did not intend to take everyone. Only enough. The first experiment began quietly. 3 volunteers, siblings born under the accord, were taken to a facility built deep within the moon's near side. The public was told it was a research mission. It was something else entirely. As they entered the living chambers beneath the lunar surface, the stone parted like water.
The moon welcomed them. Sensors recorded no distress, no pain.
The children dissolved, not into death, but into integration. Their neural patterns spread through the moon systems, stabilizing failing structures. Gravity fluctuations smoothed instantly.
The moon sighed.
For the first time in millions of years, it was not alone inside itself. Layla wept when she saw the data.
They are still there, Sophia said gently.
Just everywhere. The children did not scream.
They did not beg to come back.
They understood. The world reacted with horror when the truth inevitably leaked. Protests erupted. The unbound returned stronger than ever. Religious groups declared the moon a devourer of souls. Parents clutched their children in terror beneath the glowing sky.
The moon did not respond. It waited. Another truth emerged.
Without integration, the moon's collapse would accelerate. Earth would destabilize within 50 years.
With integration, Earth could survive for thousands more. The choice was no longer philosophical. It was mathematical.
Aaron stood alone beneath the night sky, watching the moon pulse faintly. It's not saving itself, he said to Sophia. It's saving the system.
Yes, she replied.
And asking us to decide if we want to be part of that system or be remembered as noise. The moon sent one final clarification.
I am ending. You may continue me. Or you may end with me.
The inheritance had been offered. Humanity now had to choose who it truly was. The world was divided. Half of humanity saw the moon's offer as salvation. To integrate, to become part of something older than stars, was to inherit a legacy of restraint, of stability, of life itself. These were the children's advocates, scientists, and citizens who understood that survival demanded trust. The other half saw only horror. They called it abduction, corruption, an end to humanity as they knew it.
Religious zealots denounced the moon as a demon.
Militias plotted to destroy it. The Unbound, strengthened by years of quiet resistance, launched coordinated attacks on monitoring stations and research facilities. Aaron and Layla watched in disbelief as the first signs of open conflict emerged. The moon did not intervene.
Not yet.
The first attempt to resist integration came in the form of missiles. Deep space satellites, armed with experimental propulsion systems, attempted to reach the moon with weapons designed to fragment its surface. A single strike could have caused catastrophic feedback on Earth's gravity. The missiles launched.
The moon reacted instantly. Gravity shifted, not evenly, but in precise bursts.
Launch platforms buckled under their own weight.
Engines stalled as fuel lines twisted unnaturally.
Satellite after satellite fell into orbit with devastating accuracy, their guidance systems warped beyond recognition. No humans were directly harmed, but the message was unmistakable.
The moon did not need to destroy them. It only needed to stop them.
Inside the lunar chambers, the first generation of integrated children felt the effects.
They were aware.
Not in the human sense, but through the moon's own consciousness.
They try to destroy us, the moon transmitted silently. Do not hurt them. Guide them.
They could feel the fear, the anger, the noise. But they could also feel the pattern, the delicate thread holding Earth together. And they chose restraint.
The world outside became chaotic. Cities resisted regulation. Governments fell apart under the weight of indecision.
Entire economies collapsed as power grids and satellite systems were restricted by moon-controlled gravity.
Fear fed fear. Yet the moon remained patient.
Aaron and Layla realized what was happening.
The moon isn't punishing them, Aaron said.
It's letting them see themselves.
Sophia nodded.
It's forcing humanity to choose between chaos and order without actually taking control.
The irony was cruel. Humans had always wanted control.
Now control was offered, and refused.
The second wave of rebellion was more subtle.
The Unbound discovered a loophole. The moon could not intervene on Earth itself without damaging its integrated structures. They began spreading misinformation, inciting riots, and sabotaging communications between governments.
Aaron's hand shook as he read the reports.
They are going to break it, he said. They don't understand what will happen if they do, Layla whispered. And yet, the moon did not act directly. It let the planet wobble under human indecision, testing endurance and patience. But one day, the test escalated. A group of extremists managed to breach a nearside facility designed to prepare children for integration. Explosives were detonated inside the chambers.
The moon felt the strike as a wound.
It reacted, not with force, but with clarity. Gravity shifted globally in subtle, punishing ways. Earth trembled as mountain ranges, fault lines, and tectonic plates adjusted. Buildings leaned. Streets cracked. Rivers reversed for a few moments. No one was killed, yet everyone felt the message in their bones. Aaron watched helplessly. "They aren't warning us," he said. "They are showing us what's at stake." Layla's eyes widened. "If we destroy it now, Earth will pay the price." The integrated children, now fully merged into the moon, projected a single thought across the planet. "We are the balance. Do not break it. Trust what you cannot yet see." For the first time, humanity understood the weight of obedience, not as subjugation, but as survival. Some listened. Some did not. The unbound intensified their attacks. And the moon responded with a final, visible action. The far side of the moon opened fully. The living structures beneath the stone were exposed to Earth's view for the first time in history. Glowing veins stretched across hundreds of kilometers. Pulses of light synchronized with subtle gravity waves, making the planet itself feel alive. It was beautiful. Terrifying. Infinite. A single, global impression spread to every human mind simultaneously. "We are not your enemy. But you are not ready to inherit us." Aaron looked at Sophia. "It's done waiting." Sophia nodded. "And we're about to see what impatience looks like." The moon's glow intensified. Gravity began to ripple across the planet in waves. Oceans heaved slightly. Fault lines groaned. Trees swayed unnaturally. The planet remembered that it was never safe without its caretaker. Humans were forced to kneel, not out of fear alone, but out of awe. The rebellion had failed. The choice was no longer theoretical, the world had changed forever. Cities stood, but they were quieter. Streets were narrower, lights dimmed at night, and the hum of machines no longer dominated the air. Humanity had survived, but survival came with a new rhythm, one dictated not by governments or commerce, but by the silent, omnipresent moon. Aaron Hale walked through what remained of a city that had once been vibrant and noisy. Children played, but differently. They were calmer, cooperative, aware of forces no one could see but that everyone felt. The moon had left its mark on them, not just through genetics or evolution, but through guidance. Layla Morano observed the same streets from a distance. "They're different," she said softly. Aaron nodded. "We all are." The moon made sure of that. Across the planet, life continued under subtle rules. Power usage was carefully rationed. Overconsumption triggered gravitational resistance, making heavy machinery hard to operate. Space exploration was restricted. Rockets failed mid-launch if they exceeded certain energy thresholds. Weapons capable of mass destruction were permanently deactivated. Any attempt to reactivate them caused localized gravity distortions. It wasn't oppression. It was enforcement by nature itself. Humans no longer needed armies to police themselves. Gravity, guided by the moon, had become the ultimate regulator. The integrated children, now fully part of the moon, remained connected to humanity, but unseen. They whispered patterns of stability through the planet's natural rhythms, adjusting tides, seasons, and tectonics with care. Aaron and Sophia watched reports of minor crises being averted in real time. Forest fires burned less destructively. Rivers corrected course naturally after floods. Entire ecosystems balanced themselves without human interference. The moon had become the planet's hidden steward, and humanity had become its apprentice. Some resisted still. Secret factions like the Unbound tried to defy the new order, to reclaim freedom at all costs. But their efforts were always met with subtle, precise corrections. Buildings resisted their weight. Tools failed. Machines stalled. Nothing lethal, yet enough to prevent disaster. Those who survived learned restraint, not by law or threat, but by understanding the consequences of unchecked action. Humanity was free in ways it had never been, free to live, create, and thrive, so long as it remembered one truth. The moon was alive, and it was always watching. "It's alive," he said. "Yes," Layla replied. "And it's part of us now, just as we are part of it." The earth below continued its slow, careful rotation. Oceans flowed. Winds moved. Cities stood. Humanity had inherited survival, not by force, not by conquest, but by listening. The moon had taught patience, restraint, and humility. And in return, humanity had learned to live under the quiet guardianship of a celestial being older than time itself. The stars remained unchanged. The universe continued its endless expansion. But on one small planet, beneath a glowing satellite that had once seemed lifeless, life endured. And the dark side of the moon was alive.